With multiple solutions to manage multiple processes, property and facility managers are left with data silos, costly SaaS sprawl, blind spots, and operational inefficiencies. But what if you could combine the systems, processes, and applications that power your properties into a single source of truth? Ground Floor enables you to integrate any technology, application, system, or process you have in place today and in the future for a centralized 360-degree view of your data. It standardizes all of your data into a common format to improve interoperability between systems. It allows you to create automated workflows to ensure maximum efficiency and reduce costs. It enables you to interact with information in real time through any engine of your choice and generate comprehensive reports in minutes. And it allows you to do all of this without time-consuming manual coding processes for rapid deployment and maximum scalability.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Realcomm Live. Hey, guys, how are you?
Doing good there, Jim. How you doing?
Good, good. I think we lost Casey, and we'll hopefully he'll get back to us. So this has been there. He is. I mean, it's been a 5, 6. I think we decided. What was it? Was it 2016 or 17 that we first talked about it at Realcomm? I don't remember the exact year.
Yeah, it was in 2016, actually.
2016. Okay, so that's 7 years ago, right?
Yeah.
And it was kind of a new topic for everybody. I had been studying it and watching it because I do that kind of stuff. I'm one of those nerds, following it all the way through the labs and those closed doors in Silicon Valley when it first hit the public market. And then, it was kind of quiet even for the last 3, 4 years. Elon Musk still, sending his warnings. But boy, once ChatGPT was announced, everybody's talking about it. Okay. So before we get into the conversation, let's give the audience a little bit of your backgrounds from a technical standpoint, so they understand where you're coming from and how you're able to talk to this topic.
Great. My name is Sunder Pappu. I am the SVP of SVP Head of Technology Strategy at the Inland Real Estate Group, and with me is Kaushlesh.
Hi, Jim. So Kaushlesh Chandel, I've been working with Sunder almost for 7 to 8 years, and I lead the innovation work primarily on data analytics and more recently all the AI technologies and how we can use them in real estate.
Now you guys have a little bit of a reputation. You get the required stuff done. The accounting, the enterprise applications, all that stuff. And you always seem to be pushing the envelope as far as being out there and trying these technologies, these general technologies. When did you first start thinking about AI, and when did you actually start to put it into practice?
We started looking at AI. I think this was about five to 6 years ago, and I think it was in one of these conference rooms that we were at, like at a small get-together lunch that we were having. And one of the things, Alexa had just come on board, and basically we were saying how cool it was, and how we can actually use that particular, voice-based analytics into our environment here. So that actually propelled us to look at the technologies that were out there and how we can actually use those to derive business value. And that's basically how we actually started working into it.
But your firm, has traditionally always been willing to step in front into these technologies and really figure out what the potential is.
And we have, and that's because we have, one of the good things for us is, as I mentioned in my last call with you, Jim, I think, we have a good, strong leader who basically is behind us and who's driving. Tim Hutchinson, who's our CEO, is basically always there to help us drive and push the envelope so we can be able to actually get things done, along with the businesses too, because they have provided the business case use cases that we can then be able to apply.
So Casey, I think in our prep call, you guys said that you've been working with ChatGPT about 8 weeks. Tell me that first conversation, email, phone call that you got from Sunder that said, I think I want to do a deep dive. What did that sound like?
So it's as we all learned about ChatGPT, it was somewhere around December, and started having conversation about how we can use it in real estate. And Sundar is he gives me like tight deadlines, like can you show me something in 3 weeks? So that's how it always starts, and we always try to build a small working prototype to see and feel how the technology is, and it also lets us show it to other people that hey, this is how it can work. That's how things got started.
And then inevitably, there's always a singular motivation. Like you saw something on television, you read something that one of your competitors are doing it. What was that button that was pressed that said, we got to do it? Sunder?
So from our perspective, it was one of our founders, right? So he had actually looked into an article. Actually, it was a 60 minutes show that he had seen, wherein how ChatGPT would change the world, right? So he comes to us and basically says, like, do you know about this? Like, what is this? And all the other questions that go behind it. And we showed him what it can and cannot do, and like at a high level. But then that actually brought us to actually saying, okay, if is there a value for us, right? So that we can be able to use, being cognizant that we don't want to take our data, which is our industry is at least in the group that we work in, it's highly regulated. We don't want to take our data and basically put it out there, but try out small things, general questions and other things. So we started doing research, and that's how we actually came where we are today. And again, we are finding business use cases that we can be able to apply to help us out.
Okay, so for those who are kind of just getting oriented with this, let's talk a little bit about the step-by-step process to install it and start playing around. I'm assuming you did not go to Egghead Software and buy a shrink rack package of ChatGPT to install on your client server. Is that correct?
Yeah, so Casey can actually walk you through the installation and how he actually went about doing this.
Sure. So when ChatGPT came out, all you could do is log in, create an account, and see how it works. And ChatGPT, they were very quick to release an API, and with that, you get your own private access to ChatGPT technology. And the way we started doing is um, we can deploy our own models, which are only exclusive to us. And during the demo, we'll get to see that too. That is key, that you don't want to give out the information to GPT and it's accessible to everyone. So about setup, you create an account with OpenAI, you apply for the API access and get your programmers start building the application. You train your own models, pick a small use case, and then start using it and see how it responds.
So it's literally as simple as going to a website, logging in. Now, is it expensive?
I wouldn't say to get started, it's not expensive. But if you want to train it with all the organization data, it will take more time. But to get started, it's very inexpensive. It's like few dollars a day, even if you start using it, maybe $50 a month, something on those lines to get started.
Well, and as it becomes more sophisticated, contains more data, does it become more expensive?
It would, but still, it won't be exponential. The value you can get out of it pays for itself many times over, I would say.
Okay. So, and I want to be clear. So there's the basic general ChatGPT product that anybody and everybody can just go up to and ask its questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is, like you just described, a separate version for yourself that only holds inland data and cannot be accessed by the general database.
That's right. So it is not accessible by anyone else.
So that leak from, I heard from Samsung in Korea, where some engineers put some did they actually put that data into the general system, of then which that data became owned by ChatGPT? Do you think that's what happened there?
That could be a possibility, Jim. I think I haven't seen that, but there are Samsung is not the only one, right? So this is
Yeah.
where some of the ethical things to come in, and other things like copyright violations and other things come into play too, wherein you're taking the data, you're basically feeding into a general public system. Now it becomes now that data is actually stored in that particular system, right? So
Right.
and so that's one of the bad things about having using a general GPT overall.
Right. Are you ever concerned that your proprietary inland data could be compromised or integrated into the larger system?
There is, right, and that's where basically this is there is always that particular concern that everyone will have.
Right.
So there is no getting away from it. It is just that, like, how you actually secure the data that you put in, and we don't want to put in any PI data ever.
Right.
If it is data that is accessible to everyone, yeah, that's the data that we want to play with.
So Casey, in working with it for a little bit of time now, scale of 1 to 10, 1 easy, 10 really hard. How hard is it to get to understand it, start to train it, get the data into it? What's your overall impression after a couple months?
Compared to implementing anything else, like implementing a CRM, if CRM implementation is 7 or 8, I would give it 2 or 3. That's how simple it is, just to get started.
Just to get started. And then as it becomes more intelligent and you're doing your trial and error and you're proofing against the data, trying to get it more accurate, does it require a higher level of sophistication, or will it remain pretty easy to work with?
So the key is training it for a specific purpose. Now, ChatGPT, which is out there, it is generalized for everyone. But if you are setting up for, let's say, for a commercial real estate industry, I would fine tune it for a specific purpose. Now, how much data I want to give it, that training itself can get a little complicated if you want to keep expanding the capabilities.
Right.
One way to solve that is don't make one big model that knows everything. You can make multiple smaller models, like one for account receivable, one for your public information. You can always split your workload into different models.
So 24 months from now, do you think every commercial, corporate real estate organization is going to have its own proprietary ChatGPT database?
I doubt it, Jim.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think, but there will be some form of usage of that particular thing.
So there will be no senior level chief GBT officer. I mean, you don't think it'll get to that point?
I think some of the bigger corporations, yes, probably that may be the case, because you see that they can see the value from that. The smaller group, basically, for them, whether they need, whether they have that particular resources, that will basically drive some of the things.
So, given what you've seen, read, heard, all the discussions we've heard on television over the last few months, and your experience so far, is there more opportunity here, or are there more concerns and challenges?
It is both. The way I look at it is from an opportunity perspective. As it is, ChatGPT by itself, it helps you with your productivity. It actually reduces the mundane task. It lets you do it faster and other things. And like, as the model actually gets trained better, it can actually help you with your property research. It can also help you with predictive analytics and other things too. Right. Even marketing and other things, right? So that will be the case even from a good perspective, and from a other perspective, it can also, hopefully, there is still that particular concern about inaccuracies or copyrighted violations and other stuff,
and the liability that you could be exposed to.
Yeah, so that will always be the case.
All right. Well, listen, let's take a brief break here from one of our sponsors. And then when we come back, we're going to get into this demo. And again, we're just going to be touching the surface here today. kind of as a lead into what we're going to be doing at the conference. We're going to be diving deep into this topic. So when we come back, you're going to get a little peek at how these guys have started to use ChatGPT and how the applications for the real estate industry. Be right back.
LinkSpring's Edge to Enterprise for enterprise and multi-sites is a turnkey smart building solution that connects, accesses, and translates operational and facility data from devices and equipment into actionable information. Information that can save energy, increase efficiency, and reduce operating costs while maintaining a higher level of comfort for occupants. The Edge to Enterprise solution consists of hardware and software, combined with engineering, deployment, and professional services. It's everything you need to deploy and experience the value of a smart facility enterprise, including connectivity, integration, interoperability, automation, command and control, data access and normalization, analytics, and cloud services.
All right. Just before we get into the demo, I just got one more question. When you said, you could apply your AP data to ChatGPT, that means you would have to give it access to all that accounting data, right? Would it remain in the accounting system, or is there an API, or do you literally copy and paste that data from the accounting system into ChatGPT? And does that mean at some point the vendor solution providers might have direct feeds into ChatGPT as part of their feature set?
That's possibility, Jim. The way we would actually look at it is, that's what we are looking at. We were testing some things there. One of the demos that, in the demo we'll be showing today is much more on unstructured data, right? So it's basically a website and other things. But we also are doing, work on, structured data, which is like a database where you can actually go against the database, pull that information, and just show the specific information, not the day-to-day things that you would do.
Can you imagine, though, with all the concept of forensic accounting, if you could ask, apply all your accounting data to ChatGPT and you say, can you please go and tell me if any accounting fraud is taking place within my accounting, infrastructure? And then it looks for the inconsistencies, the anomalies. This could really, truly open up a whole new era of how we deal with data.
Definitely. And I want to actually preface, when I say AP data, that's the golden source of truth for us, right? So we don't want anyone to go against, that particular data source. If anything, we'll pull the data into a data warehouse and then put some parameters behind it. So only that information is actually taken out.
You just start thinking, applying ChatGPT question to all your financial data. Am I charging enough rents in my New York market? Right. Yeah. And then it looks at and analyzes cost per square foot, what you're getting, the term of the lease expiration, compares it against external data, market comps. Yeah. It could be turn out to be a very, very powerful tool.
Yeah. Definitely.
All right. So now let's talk about this demo a little bit. We're going to just give a sneak peek. And we talked a little bit earlier. So we're going to kind of walk through the scenario. We're going to go off camera and bring it up full screen so everybody can see. So let's bring up the ChatGPT window. And I think one of the first questions we were going to ask it, just to see the general ChatGPT, was the question of, is now the time, or, can you give me advice on buying an office building in San Francisco? Because we know that market is having some troubles, and I want to see how smart the system is. So, Casey, can you bring up ChatGPT and ask it that question?
Sure, let's do that. Okay. Jim, is my screen visible?
Yeah, I don't know. Ian, if you're having trouble bringing that up. See, ChatGPT doesn't like the fact that we're going to be showing it's taken control of our system.
It must be my bad. I'm sharing it again.
Okay. There we go. And then before you do that, can you just give a little breakdown of the difference between the versions of ChatGPT? I think you're dealing with 4.0. Can you just give the audience a little breakdown on that?
Sure. So this is the OpenAI ChatGPT interface. You can sign up today. You can use the free version. I think free version gives you access to 3.5. And if you pay $20 a month, then you can get GPT-4, which is supposedly more advanced, faster, gives you more accurate information. It is more recent.
Okay. So let's ask it that San Francisco question. Should I buy an office building in San Francisco?
Sure, Jim. All right, let's do.
And this is the general ChatGPT system. This is not your inland proprietary.
Yes, this is
So the first thing it looks like it's doing is giving its disclaimer that it shouldn't give you financial information. But what it appears to be doing right now is really starting to do a market assessment. So it's looking at the pros of the marketplace and the cons, and it's telling us the high cost of living and real estate prices, competition quality. I'll be curious to see if it gets to, the absorption issue or the utilization issue. Right now, it seems pretty general. But the question is, as this model learns, will it get better over time to the point where it could actually give me advice? Do you guys think it'll ever get to that point?
Personally, I don't think it will, Jim, because end of the day, there are many factors that an individual will have to. Yeah, it can actually give you an advice, but end of the day, it's up to the individual or the group that's actually looking into it to see if it meets the parameters, right? So
Okay.
the way I look at it is like the tool is good, but it can only take you to a certain point.
Okay. Let's ask it another question. Who is Inland Real Estate Company?
Sure.
See if it can knows. And in some respects, this is a little bit like a glorified Google search at this point, right?
Yep.
But it gives it in a more of a nicely written, consolidated paragraph, as opposed to having to go to a bunch of different real estate or Google, sites or the website. This may have, taken some stuff off of your website. Pretty good. I mean, now what you need to do is check for accuracy. Before I copy and pasted this into my presentation, I would probably want to do some cross-referencing, but overall, not bad, right?
Yep.
All right. So now let's go into your proprietary and let's talk. I know you put together a page on Realcomm. So why don't you bring that up and what question are we going to ask it?
Sure. So what you're seeing right now is a simple solution that we built. It is using ChatGPT API and using similar interface. Difference being now we have more control on everything. We don't want to store any data. We don't want to store the history, and we can control what data we give to GPT. So as an example, this is ChatGPT in general, and I can ask it a question like, when is Realcomm 2023?
You guys, it's REAL.
REAL.
Yeah.
And
yeah, why don't you? It was Realcomm. REAL.
Yeah, REAL.
I'm sorry, my fat fingers. Okay. 2023.
So that's not correct. Why is that not correct in your opinion?
So it's not correct because GPT is limited to the information it has access to. And when it doesn't know the right answer, it tries to make up an answer based on what it knows. But in this case, the answer is wrong.
Very good. Okay. So now if you go to the Realcomm data that you took from our website and put it into your, proprietary world, what happens?
Sure. So Jim, as an example, what I did is I just went to the main page. I go to the home page. I copied all the information. It's as simple as that. Control A, copy, put it in a document file, and then I trained the model. So what we see here, Realcomm, this is a model which is trained with Realcomm homepage data. So I can ask the same question.
Very good. So, I mean, what we could do, and we're actually talking about this, the possibility of you guys working with us before the conference to put our entire website program content in a ChatGPT environment so people at the conference can use our mobile app, but then they can also use a ChatGPT to ask questions like, when are the sessions that are going to be talking about AI? Yep. Right. And so hopefully we can get that accomplished by the conference. I think, and again, we're not afraid to fail. If it doesn't work, you can throw pies at me. We believe that you have to take chances and iterate and possibly fail once in a while before you do it. But I think that's something, if you think it's possible, we'd like to try out.
Definitely. Jim, you said like we'll fail the last time too, and we were successful. So this time,
Exactly. Yeah. Well, we've dropped drones in general sessions, so wouldn't be the first nor the last.
great.
All right. So let's move on to inland, okay, and show us some of the applications that you've done internally, trying to understand how this can be used in your organization.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So I want to start by this example. It's property capsule, all publicly available data for inland. And this is a property, Highland of Grand Point. And what we did is we took the information and we trained another model specialized onto that data set. So now I can ask a question like, where is Highlands of the Grand Point? And it will give you accurate information. Just to give you a perspective, I will quickly go back to ChatGPT. If I did not train GPT, what would be the answer? Now, as you can see, inaccurate, but this is your own privately owned GPT, which knows about the property. Now, that was unstructured information. I want to give you another example of wherein you can access specific data. So I want to ask a question: what is 1 mile population around? If I ask the same question to GPT, it will not be able to 1,000 population. Okay, let me try it again. What is So it gives me the right answer, 5824. Had I asked it to GPT, GPT will never know. But why does it know? Because we have trained it with the data. So now you can, if you have all your data set, you can train it with your population and your sales data and all.
Does it have the capacity to read images, charts, graphs, maps, or is it just unstructured text?
I would say structured and unstructured data. So unstructured would be I just copy everything and I train it. Structured would be I give it all specific data points like rows and columns. You can do that too.
Have you? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So what I'm trying, like the question that you asked is like the images and other things. Right now it doesn't. Right. So the new Chat GPT feature actually does image to text and other things. So that's not there in the models that we're using. So eventually it'll come through.
Have you sat down and started to prioritize like which data sets inside inland might be higher priority than others? Like what would be the next?
No, this is actually being done only within the technology group. So we'll basically, this whole thing came about based on one of our resources actually leaving, and we wanted to take a data set like the work that he had done in he had created a Excel spreadsheet. So I wanted to take the macros and wanted to understand what it was doing. That's how this whole process started out.
Interesting. Okay. We have time for one more quick one. You had shown me a demo where ChatGPT took an email thread and very long one and made sense out of it, so the person didn't have to read the pages and pages of the email. Can you do a quick demo of that?
Sure, Jim. So this is an example of a problem which happens every day. You have multiple emails and you get up in the morning, you have an email chain of 20 emails. You don't know where to start. You don't want to read through all it. So in this example, all you do is copy paste your email and explain and click explain. And it does that. Okay, John Wick has requested access to 2 properties from regional manager Jack Nicholson. And it quickly explains what the real problem is. And what you can also do is you can also format, create a response for that. So in this case, I clicked make a formal response. Now, me being John Wick, it has already drafted a response which is sensitive to the information and it understands the context of what problem I'm talking about.
Wow. Now, is this something you think the Microsoft or an email provider will build right into their tool as opposed to having to take data from your email system and put it into? I mean, I got to believe all these big companies.
Definitely. Yeah, I think part of their Microsoft has their particular Copilot that they actually put out in the marketplace. So I'm pretty sure that they will actually start putting this as a overall Office 365 roadmap that they may have that they're actually working towards. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I could see something like this saying, go into my inbox and tell me what are the critical issues that I've lost, because of all this other noise. Or how about going into my clutter folder or my junk folder and see if I missed anything that's important.
Agree.
I mean, again, I think it's just going to end up being a great data management tool.
Sure.
Well, guys, I mean, I think we crammed a lot in. Of course, we went over, which we pretty typically do. This was the tip of the iceberg. And we are going to be bringing this conversation to the conference. We're going to be bringing it in small settings where people are going to be able to roll up their sleeves. We're going to be, bringing it to big settings where we're going to, show a little bit more a little bit more of that tip of the iceberg. But we are definitely going to continue on this conversation, and really want to thank you for, again, being one of the leads on this. And I'm excited to see what we're going to be talking about at the conference.
Definitely, yeah. We're looking forward to actually showcasing that what we built.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Have a great day. All right. Well, with that, let's get to the news. Mr. Berger's waiting in the wings, always seeing if we're going to be on time or not. So I guess that we should have ChatGPT analyze our time. The show's supposed to be 30 minutes. I don't think we've ever only gone 30 minutes. So yeah. I think we would be reprimanded by ChatGPT.
There's always a next time. We'll get there.
Well, there's always got to be a little flexibility in life. So Howard, I will turn it over to you. Tell us the news for the week, and I'll be back when you're done.
Thanks, Jim. And thank you, Sunder, Casey. Great conversation on AI. You guys are always pushing the envelope on new and emerging tech. So it's just a pleasure. And we will be hearing a lot more from you both at the conference. So I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to go through some news stories from this week's weekly news briefing. It goes out every Thursday morning. If it's not in your inbox, just go to realcomm.com and click on news, and you can subscribe there. But our lead story is about us. It's celebrating 25 years of PropTech leaders, the Realcomm Lifetime Achievement Awards. And since 1999, Realcomm's been presenting the Digi Awards to recognize outstanding companies and real estate projects, innovative tech solutions. And we also award our annual Digital Impact Awards, both on the Realcomm and IBCon side, to folks who've really gone above and beyond to positively impact the industry. 2018 was our 20th anniversary at the Cosmopolitan in Vegas. We decided to create a new award. It's called the Lifetime Achievement, to recognize those men and women who've dedicated 20 plus years to real estate technology and really made an impact to advancing our industry through the use of tech, automation, and innovation. Back in 2018, 20 individuals were chosen and presented with the award. And in this brief article, we honor the past Lifetime Achievement Award winners. And again, at 6 p.m. on June 14th in Las Vegas, we'll be announcing this year's winner of the Lifetime Achievement Award, and hope to see you there. Next, I want to shout out to this week's tech partner, Altus, for their article, 4 Ways to Use Data as the Strategic Advantage for Your CRE Business. Data. We are now seeing an industry-wide focus on data and analytics. It's table stakes now, necessity for competitive and growth. So how do you drive a strategy for a data and analytics excellence? So Altus has identified 5 fundamental elements critical to overcoming barriers and progressing along the digital transformation journey. And in this article, they focus on that 4th fundamental, using data as your strategic advantage. So I'm not going to spoil the energy, but suggest a quick read. It's a good quick read from Altus. Now, since 2012, we've been profiling and showcasing outstanding examples of technologically advanced buildings, campuses, portfolios at the annual conference. And this week, we're featuring the Macerich portfolio. So as everyone knows, Macerich, leading owner, operator, and developer of major retail and mixed-use real estate. And they've launched some really innovative concepts, such as QuickSpace, which is their digital platform for short-term retail leases. And back in 2015, they created a best practice center with all the smart building endpoints required in a mall, and so they could test and ensure they could each be expanded on. And starting with a single fiber backbone that spanned the entire mall, they attached security cameras, shopper counting technology, Wi-Fi access points, energy management systems, digital displays, tenant services, music, and more. And the best practices they discovered actually created a template for each of their 40 plus centers. Then in 2018, they deployed AI, robotic floor scrubbing, coupled with electrostatic discharge in 25 plus companies to promote safe and healthy environments for their tenants, guests, and employees. Good focus on some great retail innovation from Macerich. And then finally, back on the AI topic, a recap of some interesting conversation on AI with Google execs from last Sunday's 60-minute show. And in the interview, Google tech exec James Manika admitted that the company's AI had somehow learned a language on which it had not been trained, in this case, Bengali. So called emergent properties, this has been happening where AI unexpectedly teaches itself a new skill. And on 60 Minutes last Sunday, CBS interviewer Scott Pelley questioned Sunder Pichai, Google's CEO, on how safe it was for Google to turn its AI loose on society, even if its own developers don't fully understand how it works. And Pichai admitted there's some weird stuff going on with AI that even the experts can't explain. So that's a quick read, and it includes a link to the interview. So have a look at that one. So folks, that was just a few of this week's highlights. Have a great weekend, and back to you, Jim.
Yeah, Howard, the Macerich, out of all those great articles today, the Macerich one just reminds me of how much we've already forgotten, right? I mean, there is so much phenomenal good work going on in this industry, and people are so busy, and unfortunately, there's a lot of noise out there. So, you miss, I mean, Macerich has been an innovator as long as I've known him. And I mean, just taking a look at that case study, if you're in the retail or the mall business, I mean, save you light years. I mean, they've been at it and been doing it. And I remember when JP and the team was, 10 years ago, was testing out all the smart building technology. And again, it's right. And then on top of all the historic great work, I don't know how you feel, but this year's conference, so many huge topics: AI, immersive hybrid workplace, 5G, low voltage, enterprise, building operating system, cybersecurity. I mean, there are some really big topics this year. And frankly, it's hard for us to keep up. I can't imagine how the industry is doing it, because sometimes it just feels like it's too much.
It's been a huge year for innovation. We've seen a lot of new technology applications, a lot of energy going into not only things like ChatGPT, but everything, on the smart building side, everything from data to IoT to cyber, the
access control, lighting, parking, everything. Yeah, it's in everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, you have a great weekend, my friend, and we will see you next Friday on Realcomm Live.
Thank you all. Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. All right. Before we wrap the show and talk about next week, let's hear from our final sponsor, and I'll be right back. All right. Well, speaking of big topics, I think I just mentioned it with Howard. At the conference this year, we're going to be doing a pre-conference event that's going to be focused on next generation flex hybrid workplace experiences. In other words, a lot of these office buildings are empty. Cube farms persist after the pandemic. People want to come back to a different kind of an experience, one that allows you to connect to the outside easily. It's immersive. It allows information to flow freely. And frankly, not a lot of folks have yet figured out what this means. So we gathered a world-class team, 3 architectural firms, the leading ones: Gensel, HOK, Zaha Hadid. We got Microsoft on the advisory group. We've got representatives who are knee-deep in Zoom technologies, as well as others. And so what we're going to be doing is talking about this new thing. Like, what does the office need to look like? In my opinion, it's a perfect combination of physical space and technology. And if you come from the physical world, you maybe not understand the technology. If you come from the technology world, maybe you don't understand the physical space as much. That's why this team of folks that come, from the design phase as well as the technical side are going to be coming up with some phenomenal ideas, concepts, and frankly, it's going to be just an incredible forum. We may end up leaving with more questions and answers, but that's where we are in this process. So with that, I say thank you very much to our guys from Inland today. Great jump start on what we're going to be talking about at the conference regarding AI. Thank you to our sponsors. And as always, thanks to the Realcomm team for making this easy. And with that, I say thank you so much. Have a great day, great weekend, and we'll see you next week on Realcomm Live. Be well.